Hey, thanks for stopping by ARC TV today. We're glad to have author Willie Dalton of Abingdon, Virginia with us. And we're going to be talking about her two latest books, Three Witches in a Small Town, and her most recent book, The Dark Side of the Woods. Just to start off, your new book, The Dark Side of the Woods, tell us a little bit about what that book is.
Well, it's about a young girl named Sadie, and she starts dating a guy from where she works in Cumberland Gap, Tennessee. And as they start dating, things start going on in town, and all of this commotion seems to be coming from this one area that she has to walk by every day that the town has always called the dark side of the woods. Just this one area where no sunlight ever shines on the mountain. They start seeing some wolves in town and some odd dreams, and through an old diary she learns that she's a little more closely tied to all this, to this curse, than she realized, and starts having to figure out ways that she's going to help break it.
Okay. Now, The Dark Side of the Woods, this place you're talking about, is it based off of somewhere you've been before?
Oh, yeah. My husband and I were hiking in Cumberland Gap, and we were on this one trail, and it was really beautiful. Over on one side was this beautiful sunny meadow, and on the other side was this really dark forest area with these big boulders kind of jutting out of the mountain, and it was just a perfect scene. I could just, imagine wolves hiding behind or monsters hiding behind those. So that's really what inspired the book.
Okay, do you have a lot of photos of that location? You put them up on social media for your fans to follow?
I have a few up from when I first started writing the book, but honestly, you just have to walk the trail. The pictures just don't do it justice.
Now, you have very good character development in the book, and your main character, Sadie. Can you tell me where you came up with the idea for her?
Whenever I write, the characters kind of come to me. I don't feel like I really get to choose much about them more than their names. So whenever I started to tell the story, I just had an image of her in my head and kind of went with that. I think I've always known really strong people, and so I think character development comes pretty easily for me.
Now, as far as your characters, do you have a little bit of yourself in any of these characters?
A little bit, and especially my first book, Three Witches in a Small Town, everybody asked me if it was based off of family or friends or people that I know, and there's little bits and pieces of me and other people in my characters, but I don't really base them off of me or anyone else.
Okay. Give us a little background on what Three Witches in a Small Town's about.
Three Witches in a Small Town, it kind of centers around traditional Appalachian folk magic, so granny women and the little medicine woman that lives up the holler. It's about that. It's about a woman who's raised her granddaughters, and she's kind of the mountain witch in town, and they end up coming back because they know their grandmother's time is drawing short, and she's teaching them everything she knows. Okay.
Now, the writing process this time around with The Dark Side of the Woods, how is that different from your first book?
Well, Dark Side of the Woods was a little more leaning towards horror. I can't really call it horror because it's not that dark. But so it was a little more emotional in a different way. I had to tap more into what she would be feeling, as far as fear and how she would deal with these things that were coming up that wasn't something you would really face in everyday life.
Okay. Now, all of your characters seem to be very relatable as you read through them. Is there you said you let the characters come to you, but once you kind of get those characters, is there a process how you develop them?
Not really. I just kind of think about the people I know and how they handle different things, and I go by the actions the decisions they make in the books. Okay, well, if the person made this decision, how would they go about solving this problem or doing this? How would they respond to this? So.
Okay. Yeah, now you recently had a book release party for Dark Side of the Woods in Kingsport. Tell us a little bit about how that release party went, and how are the readers taking the book?
So far I've gotten a great response to the book, and the release party went really well. It was more just, a celebration for me to have my friends there and, another book release. But I did have quite a few people stop by who I haven't met, who have followed me on Facebook and Instagram and liked my first work. So that was really exciting, and I had it at Gypsy Circus Cider Company, and they were really friendly and encouraging and just provided a great atmosphere.
So are you planning book signings around the region?
I am. A lot of A lot of local libraries and a few different bookstores, but you can find all of that on my Facebook page or on my website.
Okay. Now, when you wrote Dark Side of the Woods, what did you have a favorite scene? 'Cause it had a lot of action in parts of the book. So.
My favorite scene that I wrote was probably the one where Sadie finds herself running down the street wearing just a bed sheet, and she's running from a wolf. That's really all I want to give away about it, but it was just a really intense scene to write, and one of my favorites to reread. I could just really get into that and, picture the whole situation. So.
Yeah, that was a very good scene. I remember reading that, actually. So, yeah, that was probably one of my favorite scenes in the book that you'd written too. Now, as far as what's next for you, are you already planning your next book, or are you just going to take some time off to do some promotion?
I have enough stories to get me through the next several years, so I'm always writing. I'm about halfway through my next book now, which is going to be the first in at least a 3-part series.
Okay. Any sneak peek on what that's about?
It's very different than both of these. It's going to be kind of otherworldly.
Okay. Now you obviously write across genres to some degree.
Yeah.
How tough? A lot of writers, if you're a horror writer, Stephen King, you stick in that genre, or Dean Koontz, or whatever genre you write, romance. How difficult is it for you to transition across those types of genres?
For me, writing is very easy because I have so many different ideas for stories. It's not hard for me to write, romance and then go to a horror novel because I've read so many different types of things since I was really small. I think the hard part is, as a writer, is finding the right audience and having them kind of swap genres with you. So building my audience is the main challenge in changing genres like that.
Yeah, I can see where that. Now, tell us where we can find your work and where we can find you out online to follow what you're up to.
You can request my book in any local bookstore, and it's available on barnesandnoble.com. It's available on Amazon, on Kindle, or paperback. And you can also find me on Facebook. It's Willie Dalton. And you can find me on my website at authorwilliedalton.com and message me to get a signed copy.
All right, well, thanks so much for sharing a little bit about your process and about the books. We certainly appreciate it and hope we can have you back again sometime.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Thank you.